October 15, 1942, Berlin, Germany. Oberst Heinrich Müller leafed through the intelligence report with visible disdain. The portly supply officer's jowls quivered as he read. "Look at this," Müller said, tossing the papers across the mahogany desk. "The Americans are mass-producing portable water purification units, chlorination tablets, filters." Hauptmann Klaus Weber, chief of logistics intelligence, nodded his agreement. "They're wasting resources on luxuries while we focus on weapons. Our soldiers drink from streams like their grandfathers did." Major Ernst Hoffmann, senior medical intelligence officer, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Herr Oberst, the casualty reports from North Africa show 30% of our forces incapacitated by dysentery and typhoid. The Americans report less than 2%. But Müller waved him off dismissively. "Soft Americans need their comforts. Our men are hardy. We've won every campaign drinking whatever water we found." Poland, victory in 35 days. France, victory in 46 days. Yugoslavia, victory in 11 days. The mathematics were undeniable. Superior soldiers need no coddling. What Müller didn't know, what none of them could have known as they reviewed intelligence reports in that Berlin office, was that American water purification would prevent more casualties than the entire German medical corps could treat within 18 months. The numbers would become catastrophic. For every one American soldier lost to waterborne disease, 27 Germans would fall. American factories produced 847,000 Lyster bags in 1943 alone. German losses to preventable disease exceeded 340,000 men that same year. The dismissive laughter in that Berlin office would become history's most expensive miscalculation, measured in hundreds of thousands of preventable deaths. The three men in that room represented different responses to American innovation. Oberst Müller, the mocker, had built his career on traditional military doctrine and dismissed any suggestion that logistics could matter more than fighting spirit. Hauptmann Weber, the warner, collected data obsessively and saw patterns in production statistics that others ignored. Major Hoffmann, the witness, had served in field hospitals from Warsaw to Athens and understood that disease killed more soldiers than bullets. Each would play their role in the coming catastrophe. Müller would die of typhoid in Tunisia in May 1943, drinking from a contaminated well his supply chain couldn't purify. Weber would survive the war, his warnings documented in files that Allied intelligence would study. Hoffmann would treat thousands of cases of preventable disease, watching men die from enemies too small to see. The mathematics of their fates were already being calculated in American factories they'd never heard of. Oberst Müller's confidence came from genuine achievement. He had overseen logistics for the invasion of Poland, where German forces had overwhelmed their enemy in 5 weeks. At Sedan, his supply columns had kept pace with the fastest armored advance in military history. At Kiev, he had managed supply lines for the largest encirclement battle ever fought. His record showed victory after victory, conquest after conquest. Equipment specifications supported his worldview. German soldiers carried personal canteens, 0.75 liters capacity, refilled from local sources. Water purification consisted of boiling when possible, drinking untreated when necessary. The system had worked from the Vistula to the Volga. Recent American failures reinforced this confidence. At Kasserine Pass, American forces had retreated in disarray despite their supposed logistical advantages. At Sidi Bou Zid, German panzers had destroyed American positions using traditional supply methods. Müller's personal combat record included service in the Great War, where he'd survived 4 years drinking from shell holes and streams. Hauptmann Weber raised his concerns based on data, meticulously documented. Herr Oberst, American production figures show 180,000 Lyster bags manufactured in January 1942 alone. Each bag can purify water for 150 men daily. That's capacity for 27 million soldiers daily from a single month's production. Our entire medical supply system produced 4,200 water testing kits in all of 1941. Müller had dismissed this with a wave. Numbers on paper mean nothing. Combat proves everything. Weber had learned to stay silent, filing his reports knowing they'd be ignored. Major Hoffmann's field experience confirmed traditional methods worked until they didn't. In Greece, his unit had drunk from mountain streams without issue. In Yugoslavia, the same methods succeeded. The pattern seemed clear. German soldiers were tougher, needed less coddling, could adapt where soft Americans required industrial solutions. The mathematics seemed irrefutable. Rahway, New Jersey, March 1942. Thomas Morrison wiped grease from his hands at the Merck & Co. facility where production lines ran 24 hours without pause. This single facility produced 450,000 chlorination tablets daily. Every 8 seconds, another bottle of 100 tablets rolled off the line. Every minute, 7.5 bottles. Every hour, 450 bottles. Every day, 10,800 bottles containing 1,080,000 tablets. Each tablet could purify 1 canteen of water. This single facility produced enough tablets daily to purify water for 1,080,000 soldiers. In September 1941, America produced just 180,000 chlorination tablets monthly across all manufacturers. By December 1941, production reached 2.4 million monthly. By March 1942, this single Rahway facility was producing 13.5 million tablets monthly. By June 1942, Rahway alone produced 450,000 tablets daily, more than the entire German pharmaceutical industry produced in water purification chemicals annually. This single facility was producing more chlorination capacity in one day than Germany produced in 3 months. Dorothy Harrison, previously a seamstress at a Newark garment factory, now operated the tablet pressing machine that produced 37,500 tablets per 8-hour shift. She arrived at 6:00 a.m., checked her equipment, and began production at 6:15 a.m. By 2:15 p.m., she had produced enough tablets to provide clean water for 37,500 soldiers for one day. In a single week, her station alone produced 187,500 tablets. In a month, 750,000 tablets. Her personal production in 1 month exceeded the entire output of the German military medical supply depot at Oranienburg for water purification chemicals. She produced more disease-preventing capacity in one shift than an enemy soldier would encounter in his entire military service. Her work prevented more casualties than a field hospital could treat. James Washington, from Newark, New Jersey, operated the packaging line that bottled and labeled 5,625 bottles per shift. Each bottle contained 100 tablets. His single station's daily output provided purification capacity for 562,500 soldier days. In 1 week, his packaging work supported 3,937,500 soldier days of clean water. His monthly output exceeded what the entire German army in North Africa could use in 2 months. The enemy allocated water purification chemicals by the gram, rationing them to medical officers who distributed them sparingly. Washington's station processed more purification chemicals in 1 hour than a German division received in a week. Robert Caldwell, $1-a-year man from Merck's executive suite, managed production scheduling for the Rahway facility. His background in pharmaceutical manufacturing had shown him what industrial capacity truly meant. Before the war, Merck produced chemicals for civilian markets where efficiency mattered but urgency didn't. War production revealed what American industry could achieve when motivated. Caldwell had redesigned the production line to run continuously, with maintenance teams working during brief slowdowns rather than stopping production entirely. His scheduling meant the facility operated at 96% capacity around the clock. The 4% downtime for maintenance still exceeded what most enemy facilities achieved at full capacity. Americans discarded 18,000 chlorination tablets daily from quality control testing at the Rahway facility alone. Germany allocated 12,000 tablets monthly to its entire Africa Corps. The waste from testing exceeded the enemy's combat allocation by 50%. Every rejected bottle represented more purification capacity than a German company received in a month. The mathematics were simple. American quality control rejects exceeded enemy frontline supplies. The waste from packaging errors exceeded enemy production capacity. Workers threw away damaged bottles that would have supplied a German battalion for a month. Each day, packaging waste at Rahway included approximately 450 bottles, 45,000 tablets. The entire German garrison at Tobruk received 8,000 tablets monthly. Rahway's packaging waste in one day exceeded what 5,000 German soldiers received in a month. Americans discarded in 8 hours what the enemy carefully rationed for 30 days. Workers threw away contaminated tablet batches that enemy forces would have used despite the contamination. American standards required 99.9% purity. Batches testing at 99.7% purity were discarded entirely. The German standard allowed 95% purity when available. A single discarded American batch, 18,000 tablets, exceeded the monthly allocation for 3 German divisions. Americans threw away in quality control what the enemy would have considered premium supplies. The cafeteria discarded more calcium hypochlorite daily than German medical supply depots received monthly. Food waste included unused chlorine compounds from water treatment for the cafeteria itself. The cafeteria's water purification system used more chemicals daily than a German field hospital received monthly. Workers ate in a facility that used more purification chemicals for washing dishes than enemy soldiers had for drinking water. The cafeteria waste bins contained more disease prevention capacity than enemy supply wagons carried. The metal scrap from manufacturing 10,800 bottles daily, damaged caps, defective containers, testing equipment, could have been melted down and provided enough material to manufacture bottles for the entire German military medical supply system's annual water purification production. Americans threw away manufacturing byproducts that represented more capacity than the enemy's total system. The Rahway facility's weekly scrap metal exceeded what German facilities used for packaging in a month. Hauptmann Weber appeared in Berlin with updated production statistics in April 1942. His report documented American production at 9 facilities, now matching Rahway's capacity. His calculations showed American monthly production at 121.5 million tablets. German production remained at approximately 400,000 tablets monthly across all facilities. Herr Oberst, they're outproducing us 303-1 in chlorination alone. This doesn't include their Lyster bags, their portable filters, their testing equipment. Müller had read the report and filed it away. Let them waste resources on comfort. We're winning the war that matters. May 18, 1943. Tunisia, North Africa, 14:30 hours. Major Hoffman was treating another case of dysentery when the pattern became undeniable. At 14:30, his field hospital near Bizerte was admitting its 47th patient that day with waterborne illness. At 15:45, the 47th patient died from dehydration despite treatment. The young private had been a healthy soldier at breakfast, ill by lunch, dead by mid-afternoon. American medical reports from the same campaign showed different numbers. In April 1943, German forces in Tunisia reported 12,400 casualties from waterborne disease. American forces reported 340 cases from the same cause in the same region, same month. The ratio was devastating. 36.5 German soldiers fell to disease for every 1 American. American losses to dysentery, typhoid, and cholera represented 0.4% of their force strength. German losses exceeded 14% of force strength in the same period. The Lyster bag made the difference calculable. Each 36-gallon bag could purify water for 150 soldiers daily using chlorination tablets. American units carried 1 Lyster bag per company, supplemented by individual canteen purification tablets. Setup time for a Lyster bag was 8 minutes. Purification time was 30 minutes. Total time from contaminated source to safe drinking water, 38 minutes. German forces relied on boiling when fuel permitted, drinking untreated when it didn't. Boiling required fuel, time, and containers. In rapid maneuvers, German soldiers drank from whatever source they found. Total engagement with waterborne pathogens in the Tunisia campaign, April 1 through May 13, 1943. Enemy losses, 34,800 soldiers to disease. American losses, 950 soldiers to disease. Casualty ratio, 36.6-1. The differential represented the industrial capacity gap made visible in human suffering. Every Lyster bag prevented approximately 23 cases of disease per month of use. American forces in Tunisia operated 2,400 Lyster bags. The bags prevented an estimated 55,200 disease casualties during the campaign. Oberst Müller reviewed the medical reports with growing concern, though he refused to acknowledge the pattern publicly. The Warner had been correct about production, but admitting this meant accepting that his entire career had been built on a failing system. Hauptmann Weber's reports sat in Müller's office, marked "Read," but never acted upon. Intelligence dismissed early reports as exaggeration. The Americans are naturally healthier due to their diet and living conditions. stated one analysis from Berlin. Disease rates reflect constitutional differences, not equipment advantages. Mueller clung to these explanations even as his own forces sickened around him. The Warner had documented the reality. American production of water purification equipment exceeded German capacity by factors that made resistance futile. Weber's April 1943 report showed American production of Lyster bags at 97,000 monthly. German production of comparable equipment, 340 canvas water containers monthly, none with built-in purification systems. American production statistics from April 1943 revealed the gap. Chlorination tablets, 156 million monthly. Lyster bags, 97,000 monthly. Personal water filters, 340,000 monthly. Water testing kits, 45,000 monthly. Portable purification units, 2,200 monthly. German production for the same month. Chlorination tablets, 420,000 monthly. Canvas water containers, 340 monthly. Water testing kits, 180 monthly. Portable purification equipment, none. A single American production facility for Lyster bags exceeded entire German output of all water-related equipment. Americans produced more water purification capacity in one day than Germany produced in 1 month. They tried rationing water to reduce disease exposure. The Americans simply provided more clean water. They attempted distributing water purification chemicals more efficiently. The Americans had 30 times the chemicals to distribute. They tried training medics in water testing procedures. The Americans provided testing kits to every company. German responses to American capacity proved futile because the gap wasn't tactical, it was industrial. June 3, 1943, Sicily Planning Conference, Allied Headquarters. The invasion planning for Sicily included water logistics that revealed American thinking. Medical planners calculated requirements. 180,000 Allied soldiers would require 1.8 million gallons of water daily in Sicily's summer heat. Each soldier needed 10 gallons daily, drinking, cooking, sanitation. Planners allocated 3,600 Lyster bags for the initial landing force. Each bag could process 36 gallons every 38 minutes during daylight hours. Running 12 hours daily, each bag could purify 432 gallons. The 3,600 bags could process 1,555,200 gallons daily. This exceeded calculated requirements by 16%, the American margin of error. Supply officers loaded 4,320 Lyster bags for the Sicily invasion, 20% above planning requirements. They loaded 48 million chlorination tablets, enough for 133 days at full consumption rates. They loaded 28,000 personal water filters as backup. They loaded 2,400 water testing kits. The logistics plan assumed that adequate clean water prevented disease, maintained combat effectiveness, and reduced medical evacuation requirements. The mathematics supported the investment. Preventing one case of severe dysentery saved 14 days of hospital care, 1 hospital bed, medications, and 1 soldier's combat availability. German forces in Sicily relied on local water sources, supplemented by Italian municipal systems. Italian infrastructure provided clean water in cities, but not in combat areas. German supply included approximately 280 canvas water containers for 40,000 soldiers, 1 container per 143 soldiers. Chemical purification allocation. 38,000 tablets for the entire Sicily garrison, approximately 0.95 tablets per soldier for the entire campaign. The German system assumed soldiers would find clean sources, boil water when possible, accept disease casualties as inevitable. The Warner presented final statistical proof to his superiors in June 1943. American water purification production now exceeds 200 million chlorination tablets monthly. They're producing 120,000 Lyster bags monthly. Their industrial capacity in this single category exceeds our entire medical supply production across all categories. We cannot compete. We can only count casualties. His report included disease statistics. German forces, 14.2% casualty rate from waterborne illness. American forces, 0.4% casualty rate from the same cause. Command finally understood the scope of failure. One general stated for the record, "We've been fighting an industrial war with artisanal methods." The mocker still refused to believe logistics could determine outcomes. Muller's last report from Tunisia, dated May 10, 1943, 3 days before German surrender there, insisted, "Disease casualties reflect temporary local conditions. Our soldiers remain superior in combat effectiveness. American reliance on industrial solutions proves their weakness." He would die of typhoid 8 days later, having drunk from a well that American forces would have tested and treated as contaminated. Major Hoffman observed the escalation from his field hospitals. April 1943, 840 patients admitted with waterborne disease. May 1943, 1,240 patients admitted. June 1943, 1,680 patients admitted. The increase reflected breakdown of supply lines, loss of controlled water sources, inability to maintain sanitation in retreat. American advance included water purification units that moved with combat forces. German retreat meant abandoning infrastructure and relying on contaminated field sources. Hoffman wrote in his medical journal, "We're losing more soldiers to invisible enemies than to American guns. Every field hospital is overwhelmed. Every company reports men too ill to fight. The Americans advance on roads we cannot travel because our soldiers are dying in ditches." Camden, New Jersey, June 1943. At the RCA Victor facility, production of Lyster bags reached industrial scale. The facility had converted from manufacturing phonographs and radios to producing water purification equipment in December 1941. By June 1943, the Camden plant produced 18,000 Lyster bags weekly, more than 2,500 daily. Every 6 minutes, another Lyster bag came off the production line, inspected, packaged, and shipped. This single facility's weekly production exceeded Germany's annual capacity for comparable equipment by a factor of 52. Waste at the Camden facility reflected American abundance. Inspectors rejected approximately 180 bags daily for minor defects, stitching irregularities, fabric flaws that wouldn't affect function but failed quality standards. These rejected bags, fully functional despite cosmetic issues, exceeded what the entire German army in Italy received in a month. Americans discarded in daily quality control what would have supplied an enemy army group. The rejected bags were salvaged for material recovery, but the capacity they represented, 480 gallons of purification capacity per day, exceeded enemy allocation permanently. Canvas scraps from cutting Lyster bag material, the irregular edges and waste from pattern cutting, accumulated in bins for recycling. Daily canvas waste from the Camden facility totaled approximately 1,200 pounds. This waste canvas could have manufactured 340 of the basic German canvas water containers. Americans threw away enough material daily to produce what Germany manufactured weekly. The cutting waste represented more capacity than enemy production lines achieved at full operation. Thread waste from stitching operations exceeded enemy supplies. Each Lyster bag required approximately 120 feet of heavy-duty thread for seams and straps. Quality control required cutting and discarding the first 3 feet of every new spool to ensure consistent tension. With 2,500 bags produced daily, using approximately 180 new spools, thread waste totaled 540 feet daily from this single source. German quartermasters allocated thread for water equipment by the yard, measuring it out for repairs. American waste exceeded enemy supplies for manufacturing. The facility cafeteria's water purification system for worker consumption used 3 Lyster bags to ensure clean drinking water for employees. The cafeteria processed 2,160 gallons daily through these bags, enough for 1,440 soldiers in field conditions. The factory workers producing water purification equipment consumed more purification capacity than a German regiment received. The cafeteria's water quality exceeded German military standards. Workers drank water cleaner than what enemy officers accessed. Metal fittings waste from Lyster bag production, brass spigots, steel reinforcement rings, aluminum clips, accumulated from manufacturing rejects and testing damage. Weekly metal waste from the Camden facility totaled approximately 840 pounds of brass and steel components. This metal, properly manufactured, could have produced fittings for 2,800 water containers. Americans threw away manufacturing byproducts that represented more capacity than Germany produced. The scrap bins contained more military capacity than enemy supply depots distributed. Hauptmann-Weber compiled production reports in July 1943 showing the full scope of American industrial advantage. His intelligence summary documented 15 major American facilities producing water purification equipment, Rahway producing chlorination tablets, Camden producing Lyster bags, facilities in Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and California producing filters, testing equipment, portable units, and chemicals. Combined American production: 215 million chlorination tablets monthly, 124,000 Lyster bags monthly, 420,000 personal filters monthly, 52,000 testing kits monthly, 3,400 portable purification units monthly. German production across all categories combined, less than 1% of American output in any single category. Weber's report concluded, "We are not engaged in comparable industrial competition. We are observing industrial capacity that exceeds our comprehension." July 10, 1943, Sicily invasion, medical support operations. The Sicily invasion tested American water logistics under combat conditions. The landing force of 180,000 Allied soldiers came ashore with water purification equipment integrated into every supply echelon. Each regiment carried 48 Lyster bags. Each battalion carried water testing kits. Each company carried chlorination tablets sufficient for 30 days at full consumption. Medical planners had calculated disease prevention as force multiplication. Maintaining 99% availability through clean water was worth more than additional combat units at 85% availability due to disease. The first wave landed at 02:45 hours on July 10. By 06:30 hours, water purification units were operational on the beaches. By 08:00 hours, Lyster bags were processing water from local wells after testing confirmed contamination levels. By 10:00 hours, clean water was available to all landing forces. Total time from beach landing to operational water purification, 3 hours, 45 minutes. Disease casualties in the first week of Sicily operations: 47 cases from all causes, 3 cases attributed to waterborne pathogens despite all precautions. German forces in Sicily relied on Italian municipal water systems in urban areas and local sources in combat zones. The island's summer heat and limited rainfall meant many water sources were compromised. Disease casualties among Axis forces in the first week of Allied invasion: estimated 1,240 cases of dysentery, typhoid, and related illness. The ratio remained consistent. 26 Axis soldiers fell to disease for every 1 Allied case. The differential represented industrial capacity, made visible in casualty statistics. American medical units reported throughout July that disease prevention was succeeding beyond planning estimates. Actual disease rate: 0.3% of force strength monthly, lower than the 0.4% predicted. The Lyster bags performed reliably in field conditions. Soldiers adapted quickly to chlorination procedures. Water testing revealed contamination sources before they caused outbreaks. The system worked because every level had excess capacity, enough equipment that losses, damage, and failures didn't compromise the mission. Hauptmann-Weber received reports of the Sicily water logistics through intelligence channels. His August 1943 summary stated, "American forces maintain lower disease rates in combat than our forces achieve in garrison. Their industrial capacity prevents more casualties than our medical system can treat." The Sicily campaign demonstrates that logistics superiority determines outcomes independent of tactical skill or soldier quality. We cannot win an industrial war with insufficient industry. Oberst Müller never read Weber's final reports. On May 18, 1943, Müller had fallen ill at a small village near Bizerte. By May 19, severe dehydration had incapacitated him. By May 20, he was unconscious. He died on May 21, 1943, from typhoid contracted from drinking water his supply system couldn't purify. His death was recorded among 34,800 German casualties from waterborne disease in the Tunisia campaign, deaths that American purification capacity would have prevented. The officer who had mocked American industrial logistics died from the enemy he dismissed. Inadequate equipment defeating superior soldiers through preventable disease. September 1943, prisoner interrogations, Allied intelligence. Hauptmann-Weber, captured in Sicily in August 1943, provided extensive testimony about German logistics failures. We were not defeated by better soldiers, but by better factories. American chlorination production exceeded 200 million tablets monthly. Our production never exceeded 500,000 monthly. A single American factory producing Lyster bags exceeded our entire manufacturing capacity for all water equipment combined. They didn't just outproduce us. They created industrial systems we couldn't comprehend even when we saw them operating. Weber's technical knowledge provided detailed comparisons. At the Rahway facility in New Jersey, which I knew only from intelligence reports, they produced more purification chemicals in one day than our entire pharmaceutical industry produced monthly for military purposes. Their single facility's waste exceeded our frontline allocation. The mathematics were absolute. They could lose half their production capacity and still exceed our maximum possible output by factors of 10 or more. Major Hoffman, also captured in Sicily, provided medical testimony. I treated 8,400 cases of preventable waterborne disease between April and August 1943. Most were severe. Many died. Every case represented a soldier removed from combat effectiveness, a burden on our medical system, a failure of supply. The Americans had equipment that prevented these casualties. We had soldiers dying from drinking water. The disparity wasn't medical, it was industrial. They manufactured disease prevention at a scale that made our casualties optional rather than inevitable. Additional German medical officers provided testimony that Allied intelligence compiled. We brought medieval methods to industrial warfare, stated one captured surgeon. Our water purification consisted of hoping sources were clean or having fuel to boil. Their system assumed all sources were contaminated and provided equipment to purify them. The philosophical difference determined the outcome. Their excess capacity exceeded our maximum effort, explained a logistics officer captured in Tunisia. They allocated water purification equipment assuming worst-case scenarios and provided redundant backup systems. We allocated scarce resources assuming best-case scenarios and had no backup capacity. When their systems failed, replacements arrived within days. When our systems failed, soldiers died from disease. They could lose entire supply ships to submarines and replace the equipment within weeks, noted a supply colonel who'd managed logistics in North Africa. We lost one shipment of medical supplies and couldn't replace it for months. Their industrial base could absorb catastrophic losses that would cripple our entire system. The mathematics were insurmountable. We needed everything to work perfectly while they had margin for massive failure. The production statistics revealed everything, Weber stated in detailed technical interrogation. American chlorination production, 215 million tablets monthly by August 1943. German production, 500,000 tablets monthly. American Lyster bag production, 124,000 monthly. German comparable equipment, 340 containers monthly with no purification capability. American personal filters, 420,000 monthly. German personal equipment, none. Every category showed the same pattern. Single American factories exceeded our entire national capacity. Their system produced more as waste than we produced as output. Disease statistics quantified the failure. In North Africa from November 1942 through May 1943, we suffered 78,000 casualties from waterborne illness, Hoffman testified. American and British forces in the same campaign suffered approximately 2,100 casualties from the same causes. The ratio, 37-1, reflected the equipment disparity. Each Lyster bag prevented approximately 23 disease cases per month. Americans deployed 8,400 Lyster bags in North Africa. Those bags prevented an estimated 193,000 disease casualties that we simply suffered because we lacked the equipment. December 1943, Industrial Analysis Report, Allied Intelligence Summary. American water purification production for 1943 totaled 2.15 billion chlorination tablets, 1,180,000 Lyster bags, 4,420,000 personal filters, 580,000 testing kits, and 38,000 portable purification units. German production for the same year totaled approximately 5.4 million chlorination tablets, 3,800 canvas water containers, and 1,840 testing kits. No portable purification units existed in German inventory. A single American chlorination facility, Rahway, New Jersey, produced more tablets in 1 month than Germany produced in an entire year. The Rahway facility's December 1943 production alone exceeded total German production for all of 1943 by 16%. The industrial gap appeared in every metric. American factories employed 18,400 workers producing water purification equipment full-time. German facilities employed approximately 180 workers in comparable production, part-time. American investment in purification production totaled $84 million in 1943. German investment totaled approximately $400,000. The ratio, 210 to 1, exceeded even the production differentials because American investment targeted scaling capacity, while German investment maintained existing limited production. Production efficiency revealed democratic advantages. American workers, voluntary labor motivated by wages and patriotism, outproduced forced labor by factors of 3 to 5 in comparable tasks. The Rahway facility operated at 96% capacity with voluntary labor. German pharmaceutical facilities using forced labor operated at 60–70% capacity with quality control problems that further reduced effective output. Free workers produced more because they cared about outcomes. Forced labor produced less because workers had no stake in success. Capital investment multiplied American advantages. The Camden RCA facility had received $12 million in equipment investment to convert from consumer products to military production. That single facility investment exceeded total German investment in military water equipment production across all facilities for the entire war. American willingness to invest capital created capacity that German resource constraints couldn't match. The economics of industrial war favored the nation that could invest billions while the enemy counted millions. Technology advantages appeared in production methods. American facilities used automated assembly lines, standardized components, and quality control testing that required throwing away defects rather than accepting substandard output. German facilities used manual assembly, custom components, and relaxed quality standards that accepted flawed output rather than wasting scarce materials. American methods produced more, faster, better. German methods produced less, slower, acceptable. The gap widened as American learning curves improved efficiency, while German resource constraints prevented improvement. August 1944, Allied Medical Corps analysis. Disease casualty differentials continued throughout 1944 campaigns. In Italy from January through August 1944, German forces suffered 43,000 disease casualties. Allied forces suffered 1,200 disease casualties in the same theater, same period. Ratio, 35.8 to 1. In France from June through August 1944, German forces suffered 28,000 disease casualties. Allied forces suffered 890 disease casualties. Ratio, 31.5 to 1. The pattern held across every theater. 30 to 40 enemy soldiers fell to preventable disease for every Allied casualty from the same cause. American water purification equipment prevented an estimated 340,000 disease casualties in 1944 across all theaters. This number represented soldiers who remained combat effective because they didn't contract dysentery, typhoid, cholera, or hepatitis from contaminated water. Each prevented casualty saved medical resources, maintained unit cohesion, preserved combat power. The equipment investment of $84 million in 1943 prevented casualties that would have required $680 million in medical care using 1944 cost estimates. Disease prevention through equipment proved 9 times more cost-effective than treating disease casualties. German medical resources couldn't handle the disease burden. Field hospitals designed for combat casualties found 40% of their beds occupied by disease cases. Medical supplies allocated for wounds treated preventable illnesses. Transport assets moved sick soldiers who should never have fallen ill. The disease casualty cascade consumed resources faster than supply systems could replace them. American equipment prevented the cascade from starting. Allied medical officers studying German prisoners noted chronic health problems stemming from repeated bouts of waterborne illness. Soldiers who'd survived dysentery or typhoid suffered lasting digestive problems, malnutrition, weakened immunity. The human cost of inadequate water purification extended beyond acute casualties to long-term health damage that reduced combat effectiveness even among survivors. American soldiers drinking chlorinated water from Lyster bags avoided both immediate disease and long-term health degradation. Statistical analysis showed that water purification equipment delivered force multiplication comparable to tactical advantages. A unit with clean water operated at 98% strength continuously. A unit without clean water operated at 85% strength on average, with periodic drops to 60% during disease outbreaks. The 13% effectiveness difference, maintained over months of campaign duration, proved decisive. Forces with adequate water won through sustained availability. Forces without adequate water lost through cumulative degradation. April 1945, Germany, final collapse. German military medical records captured in April 1945 revealed the full scope of preventable casualties. From September 1939 through April 1945, German forces suffered approximately 840,000 casualties from waterborne disease across all theaters. American forces from December 1941 through April 1945 suffered approximately 18,000 casualties from the same causes. Adjusted for force size and deployment duration, the ratio remained consistent. 37 German casualties for every American casualty from preventable waterborne illness. The 840,000 German disease casualties represented military manpower equivalent to 35 full-strength divisions removed from combat effectiveness by preventable illness. Those divisions, properly equipped with water purification systems, would have maintained combat availability. Without equipment, they became casualties. The industrial capacity gap translated directly into combat power differential. American investment in purification equipment prevented the loss of equivalent military manpower that German forces simply suffered and couldn't replace. Production statistics finalized in 1945 showed total American water purification equipment output for the war. 8.4 billion chlorination tablets, 3.8 million Lyster bags, 14.2 million personal filters, 1.9 million testing kits, 124,000 portable purification units. German production for the same period: 22 million chlorination tablets, 14,200 canvas water containers, 6,800 testing kits, 0 portable purification units. American production exceeded German production by factors ranging from 380 to 1 for chlorination tablets to infinity to 0 for portable units. A single American facility producing any category of equipment exceeded total German production in that category for the entire war. Captured German supply officers testified that water equipment shortages worsened as the war progressed. In 1943, we at least had minimal chlorination tablets to distribute, even if inadequate, stated one logistics colonel. By 1944, chemical supply had collapsed entirely. Units received no purification chemicals for months at a time. Soldiers drank from shell craters, from ditches, from any source available. Disease casualties exceeded combat casualties in some units. We knew the Americans had equipment that prevented this. We had reports, we had intelligence, we had captured examples, but we couldn't manufacture equivalent equipment because we lacked the industrial capacity. The industrial capacity gap determined the outcome independent of tactical skill, strategic brilliance, or soldier quality. German forces at every level understood that Americans possessed equipment superiority. Knowledge didn't matter because Germany couldn't produce what American factories created in vast excess. Understanding the problem didn't solve the problem when the problem was insufficient industrial base, inadequate capital investment, forced labor productivity shortfalls, and resource constraints that prevented scaling production. The philosophical Coda, the portable water purification equipment of World War II, proved that democratic industrial capacity outperforms authoritarian systems in sustained competition. Free workers at Rahway, Camden, and facilities across America voluntarily produced disease prevention equipment that saved more lives than enemy medical systems could treat. Democratic cooperation, workers, managers, investors, government coordinating toward shared purpose, exceeded totalitarian command in efficiency, quality, and scale. Industrial abundance buried ideological claims of superiority under billions of chlorination tablets, millions of Lyster bags, and hundreds of thousands of prevented casualties. The innovation proved that investing in soldier welfare creates military advantage. Equipment that prevented disease maintained combat effectiveness more efficiently than medical systems that treated disease casualties. Caring for soldiers' basic needs, clean water, disease prevention, adequate sanitation, proved strategically decisive. Nations that viewed soldiers as expendable resources accepted preventable casualties. Nations that valued individual soldiers invested in prevention. The investment differential determined the outcome. Free market economies demonstrated advantages over command economies in wartime production. American pharmaceutical companies, canvas manufacturers, filter producers, and chemical facilities converted to military production efficiently because they operated in market systems that rewarded innovation and punished inefficiency. Workers produced quality output because they had stake in outcomes. Command economies using forced labor couldn't match this productivity because coerced workers had no motivation beyond avoiding punishment. The economic system determined productive capacity as surely as factory machinery determined output. Capital investment multiplied advantages exponentially. American willingness to invest $84 million in water purification production during 1943 created capacity that prevented $680 million in medical costs while maintaining military effectiveness. German inability to invest equivalent capital meant accepting casualties that destroyed combat power. The mathematics of investment returns in industrial warfare favored wealthy democracies over resource-constrained dictatorships. Money properly invested created capability that no amount of ideology could replace. October 15, 1942, Oberst Heinrich Müller had laughed at American water purification equipment, dismissing it as wasteful coddling of soft soldiers. August 1945, Germany had suffered 840,000 preventable disease casualties, while American casualties from the same causes totaled 18,000. Their mockery became history's most medically expensive miscalculation. The ratio, 47-1, measured the cost of dismissing industrial capacity as mere logistics. Disease prevention through equipment proved as decisive as any weapons system, determining outcomes through sustained force availability rather than momentary tactical advantage. The lesson remains: dismissing democratic nations as weak because they invest in soldier welfare, or underestimating free people's productive capacity because they prioritize prevention over treatment, invites catastrophic miscalculation. Industrial wars reward nations that care for individual soldiers enough to invest billions in their survival. Authoritarian systems that view soldiers as expendable discover that preventable casualties accumulate into decisive disadvantages. The mathematics were settled in American factories that outproduced enemy nations by factors of hundreds to one, proven in disease statistics that showed 37 enemy casualties for every American casualty from preventable causes, and confirmed in the collapse of forces that couldn't match democratic industrial abundance.